Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm trying to make more of that YouTube money. And what I notice is a lot of popular channels do the explained thing. So they take at one point it was kind of complicated topics like the elementals explained, and then they'd go through the history and put a bunch of work into explaining who all these characters are. As time has gone on, that seems to have dropped a little bit. It's like that ending credit scene explained, the one that was 20 seconds long and featured the obvious character looking into the sunset explained. Anyway, so I'm a sucker for doing easy things too. So this is Amazing Spider-Man number 55, Legacy issue 959, which means we're on the cusp of Legacy issue 950. And you know what that means? Expensive price tag, oversized issue, meaningless subplots, and stories that beyond the main story that are just kind of celebrations of Spider-Man swinging around and being a loser. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 55 Explained. And this issue, right off the bat, I'll say, has a pretty awesome picture. It's John Romita Jr., and it's a good one. And it's got Spider-Man kind of lifting, folding, building, or propping it up as it's about to crush a mom and her two kids into pancakes. And it's good. It's reminiscent of, Spider-Man kind of breaking through the water, or just various moments where Spider-Man has had heroic scenes. So it's a good little cover. Anyway, we get into the comic, and to explain what's going on here, Spider-Man has agreed to go on a date with a new kind of character they've introduced, Shay Markin. And Shay Markin is a Ravencroft nurse, and they started making googly eyes at each other, and now they're trying to make it work in their personal life. So this issue is about the two of them going on a date. They've had a couple misfires where, something comes up and Peter Parker is, interrupted by villains or, something. So this one's going to be the charm. This comic is written by current series writer for a couple more issues anyways, Zeb Wells, and the guest artist is Emilio Lasso. And we have a guest color artist of Brian Valenza, which means they're really putting all that effort into that big anniversary 950 issue, right? Anyway, so this comic, Peter Parker kind of swings into action. And by swinging into action, he's swinging around. And we've got some thought bubbles here. He's, there's a new stilt man, and it's talking about how he was able to stop the new stilt man, but it's making it late for his date. So 2 pages go by of this, and as you're reading this, you're kind of thinking, hey, it would be nice if they showed that battle with Stilt-Man. I mean, Stilt-Man is not the most amazing, character of all time, but, it's a villain, so you could show some kind of battle. But anyway, on page 3, we finally get to the date. So Peter Parker is taking Shay to some kind of restaurant. She's looking mopey and sad and kind of just standing there. So he has also lost his shoes, Peter Parker. So he's barefoot. And apparently this restaurant is not the no shoes, no shirt, no service. So they let him in anyway with no shoes on. They do take his jacket, though, which is weird. He's got like just a little kind of basic jacket. And on page 4, where they sit down to their table for a date, the jacket has just disappeared. It's not over the seat. It's just vanished. So I guess they took his jacket, didn't mind the no shoes. Anyway, it's a fancy restaurant. We got waiters walking around in cummerbunds and bow ties and everything. So anyway, page 4, they sit down for their date, and thus starts a conversation. And so the first part of Spider-Man 55 Explained is this comic is a conversation. So on page 4, she's questioning him, why does he have a black eye? He seems to forget that he has one. On page 6, they complain about the third date and are always late, joking around that maybe he's involved with a married woman or has a different family. Page 7, he says, I'm going to tell you the truth. I can't tell you. They kind of go back and forth a little bit more. She finds that charming. They go back to the black eye. They get a little bit into his responsibility. Page 8, there's more conversations about his responsibility. Page 9, more conversations about his responsibility. They do hold hands. And on page 10, or maybe 11 at this point, I have lost track, they're still at dinner and they're having a tender moment, but Peter happens to look out the window and sees, Rhino running by with Screwball doing some kind of crime. So this is bad news. The next page 12, I think. Anyway, Peter says he has to go take care of things. Page 13, there's more conversation about him going to take care of things. At this point, the Rhino and Screwball have destroyed 3 city blocks and racked up a casualty count of about 80. Regardless, finally he leaves the table to go have his responsibility. She is sad and mopey. He runs out the building. He starts to change into a Spider-Man suit, and then he looks just kind of tired and disgusted, and kind of half unveiling his shirt. He looks down at the ground with a feeling of tired desperation, which is, to explain it, this is what the readers of this comic also felt when they bought it. Anyway, so he goes outside to Screwball and Rhino, and he basically shows up as they're, screwing around, and he shows up as Peter Parker, and he kind of yells at them that he's on a date and he's really trying to get laid, and these guys are messing up his date. It's kind of weird because they show them rampaging around the streets, and yet they must have been just running up and down the same block because they're still outside the restaurant. Anyway, Peter just asks them, "Can you guys just knock it off? Because I'm trying to get laid." And Screwball's like, "All right, I get it. Not going to cock block you tonight." So they agree to basically stop their destructive rampage, so Peter can go out and get his dick wet. And so they decide to kind of stomp off. Now there's tons of, it shows them basically crashing through the streets. Now, what's funny about that is we do see some cars being thrown in the air and other destruction, but it doesn't seem like they're doing too much damage. At when they kind of walk off, the street just looks normal. But anyway, the two of them walk off with Screwball telling Rhino she'll get him on Tinder. And Peter, finding that successful, goes back to his date, sits down and says, "Hey, let's get this thing going." They share a kiss while the waiter looks on, annoyed at this point, possibly contemplating, Peter's lack of shoes. It does, by the way, he's not barefoot. In one of the scenes, we do see him running around in socks. So he's basically running around a New York street in his socks. So they have a kiss, sit back down for dinner, say, "We're doing it." We get a couple more panels of them just sitting down at dinner, having a good time. And then we briefly flash back to Rhino and Screwball setting up his Tinder account. Or maybe Grindr. We don't know. Anyway, so that's the comic. So just if you're keeping track at home, to explain it, if you're buying this, you get one page talking about some action, another page setting up the date, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we get a little bit of action. Then 12, 13, 14 and a half, let's call it, pages of Peter and Shay at a table having dinner and talking about responsibility. And then a couple pages thrown in there of Peter Parker telling off Rhino and Screwball. So that's the comic. Basically, you're talking about a 22-page comic or so, and you have several scenes of eating. So in this channel, I made fun of comics where people are eating. In fairness, I can't make that joke here because the characters don't actually eat. They just sit at the table. We never actually get to the menu. And based on this kind of decompressed storytelling, we could do a full 6-issue arc of just this date. And, I'm not trying to give them ideas, but, it could happen is all I'm saying. We're well on the way. But that is Amazing Spider-Man number 55 explained. You're getting a comic about dinner, or almost. You're getting a comic about almost dinner. And I know I'm being sarcastic here. Somebody in the comments will comment, "Actually, Perch, the comic was about Peter Parker's responsibility and realizing that his personal life is just as important to his responsibility as saving people from crime. And it was actually a poignant issue of a date that was saved at the last minute. And Peter definitely went back to his apartment and just railed that girl for hours on end. And so it's very romantic. It's Parker luck, except he's actually getting some this time. That's fine. Anyway, that's Amazing Spider-Man 55 explained. It is an almost dinner issue, an almost eating issue. And if you are excited about a comic that has 14 and a half pages of two people sitting at dinner talking, now in fairness, most of the panels look like they're drawn uniquely. So there is some cut and paste, certainly, with a background and other things. no doubt. But, imagine the colorist on this, coloring panel after panel of just these two characters talking to each other. Can you imagine? Anyway, there you go. Amazing Spider-Man 55 explained. Have fun, folks.
Fuck.